Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a deep dive look into this full moon in Leo. I am so excited for this full moon. I am in love with the feeling with this full moon. I don't know about everybody else, but I am enjoying where we're at so far. Before we get into the full moon in Leo, I got two quick little things I want to cover. One, we are 1 week away. Like we are in my last week of January, the last week of me running my special. If you're wanting to book a one-on-one session with me, they're discounted quite a bit right now. So you can book a 30-minute session for $20 or an hour-long session for $35 at the 1st of February. Those are going to go back up to their normal pricing. They're not discounted that much. Like my normal pricing is usually like 30 for the 30-minute one, and then 55 for an hour. So they're not discounted that much, but they are at discount. And if you're wanting to take advantage of that, you have one more week to get those booked. They don't have to happen in January, but you have to get them booked. Okay. And two, I wanted to thank everybody that has joined in for the recent live sessions on both Monday and Wednesday this week. I did do Facebook lives from like 7 p.m. On Monday, it was about 2.5 hours. I think I finally wrapped up around 9:30 at night. And then last night's live was only about an hour and a half by 8:30. Like everybody had kind of like dwindled off. So I really appreciate everybody that has been jumping onto those lives and getting involved and bringing more people on to meet me. I have appreciated it so much. I've met so many more new people. If you haven't had the chance to take advantage of those, that's okay. I'm going to continue to do those like next week on Monday and Wednesday as well. So that was my quick little excerpt. Now let's take a deep dive look in this full moon in Leo. I really am enjoying the energy. I've been enjoying this buildup of the sun square to Jupiter. This full moon is in a square to Jupiter, but it's not exact. I said that in the week ahead forecast. We're moving into a new direction. And I've been saying this all throughout the month of January. Each week is building a lot more momentum. Our drive is picking up. Our determination is picking up. Our strength is picking back up in so many ways. We're gaining a focus. Some of us are seeing a new way to do things in business. Some of us are seeing a new way of doing things within our relationship. Some of us are determined to heal certain things because healing has been a part of that purging energy. And now, as we're taking new actions and new steps forward, we're seeing how building a new pattern and a new way of doing things is creating something better. Now, for a lot of us, this full moon in Leo is a guiding light. It is a beacon of hope. It is an empowering energy, and it is showing us how we take steps forward. There's a luck element involved with Jupiter. And I said that in the week ahead forecast, but one of the things I didn't say in the week ahead forecast that I saved for this right here is this full moon is in a quincunx to Saturn. Now, I know not a lot of astrologers will talk about a quincunx. I pay attention to them. I pay attention to them because it shows me where there is indifference, where we do not have support, where we do not have certain things. The sun is in Saturn sign. Venus, Mars, Mercury, they're all in Saturn signs. And it's very interesting whenever I look at the dynamic of all of this energy because Saturn is in a very long sextile to Jupiter. So Saturn is supporting Jupiter, but this full moon is not getting the support of Saturn. And this tells me a couple of different things. And there's a reason why I have said so much of the energy through January and February is about building foundation for where we're going to go next in eclipse season. Right now, there is an awareness that people don't have. Right now, what's starting to shed light, what's starting to change for certain individuals is because they no longer have the responsibility of something that they did once before, or they no longer have the support of something that they had once before. It really kind of comes down to how Saturn is playing out in your personal lives. There's some element of leaving something behind, of not having support, of not having somebody on your team, but at the same time, not really giving a shit. It's okay. Not everybody's got to be on the same page as you start your new level of a journey. Some of you, you know exactly who I'm talking about in this like energy. You're like, oh yeah. Some of y'all are the Saturn, and you see something changing with another person and you're not on board with it. You're not necessarily okay with it. You're not ready to take on that level of responsibility on top of the things that you're already doing. And that's okay too. But understand that we are in a shift and an adjustment in so many ways as we go through this full moon and the days that follow. I said this in the week ahead, but there's one other thing that I missed in the week ahead. I didn't do this one on purpose. I just kind of like it clicked in my head afterwards. And that is, not only are we having the Mercury Mars conjunction immediately following this full moon, not only are we having that Sun square to Jupiter following this full moon, because that goes exact this weekend too, but we're also going to have our next two planets bend the nodes. Both Mercury and Mars are going to square the nodes, and that starts this weekend with Mercury. Every time a planet bends the nodes and squares those nodes and continues on its path forward, it starts to take on the energy of the node that it is going towards. Pluto is moving towards the north node. The sun is moving towards the north node. Neptune, Saturn, all of them moving towards the north node. Mars, our ambition, our drive, our determination, it's about to start moving in that direction. And Mars is about to be the superstar, and with all everything that we've got going on, really, because one, we just had that Mars rebirth, and two, we're moving towards that Mars ruled eclipse season. So we are moving towards so many areas of gains as we continue through the first quarter of this year, all the way until we get to April. And I'm telling you now, April's going to be April's going to be a lot. I'm not sugarcoating that. I'm not hiding it. I'm making everybody aware. I'm warning people now. Mercury rules our logical mind. Our ideas are starting to be forward thinking. The way that we're talking about things is starting to be in a forward progression. As we're starting to plan out certain details, it's about where we're going in the future, not what we need to deal with from the past. And little by little, you're going to see those things fall into alignment following this full moon. Because again, this full moon sheds light. It is a beacon. It is showing us a direction. Things are coming out of the shadows. And so much of this energy has to do with finally being able to put back things into place that we were trying to launch last year. In so many ways. What we're starting to see unfold in this momentum, where the light is starting to shine, impacts areas where we were trying to get things going last summer, last May, last June, last July, last August, all the way into last September. And the human effect is, if you had things during this timeline that fell apart in some way, you started a job, but it was the wrong place, the wrong position. You started dating somebody, but the wrong things happened. We started like making connections with certain people, getting into certain friend groups, certain networking, and then nope, I don't need you in my life. I don't need your energy. I don't need your drama. I don't need it. We started something with certain people last year that in some way, shape, or form, it was the wrong place, the wrong time, with the wrong people. We were trying to manifest certain things. The energy was in our favor to manifest things. And some of the things we did manifest came to some level of solidification. And if that was the case, it would have happened in May and June. But again, it was the first inklings of something. It was the first little bits of something. And some element, whether it was within ourselves, within the situation, or within the people that we're doing business with, that we're sharing our space with, in our environment, and any of that, something wasn't ready. That's why we needed all of the purge energy that came through the last half of 2023. Elements from last summer are able to be picked back up in some way. Not all of it, definitely not all with the same people, not all in the same trajectory, not all with the same mindset. Some of us are having to take the things that we did get to work at that time, and now we're leveling it up. And a lot of that energy for that level up and how we see this continue moving forward is a part of this full moon. This is a very empowering full moon in Leo, but it is a trajectory. It is shedding light. Many of us have had something come into play literally over the last week. We've had a focus. We have seen where we need to step up our game. We have seen where a new path has come out. We have had a new opportunity. We have had something come about, and now we are seeing where our focus goes. This full moon in Leo, squaring Jupiter, right as Jupiter is starting to move forward again, right as Jupiter is starting to get its momentum. It is about pushing our luck, pushing for growth, for abundance, for prosperity. In some ways, we are going to be testing our limits of our faith and our spirituality because Jupiter has things tied to that too. For some of us, we're going to start to regain elements of our health. And that will be a big portion of the focus as we continue. It really kind of comes down to what Jupiter has been doing to you since September of last year. And I'm specifically saying September because that's whenever Jupiter turned retrograde, right at the end of the Venus retrograde, Jupiter turned retrograde. They were less than 24 hours apart, September 3rd and September 4th. For many of us, something in September, maybe the human effect was late August because of the full moon in Pisces, which Jupiter ruled, and Uranus turning retrograde, same sign as where Jupiter's at. The human effect is it could have been that last week of August, but for a lot more people, it had to do with September. We had things turn around. We withdrew our support. We felt things going wrong. We felt like things weren't moving or functioning correctly. We had a certain amount of support withdrawn from us. And a lot of that had to do with Jupiter's energy. Jupiter is full steam ahead until September. There's so much movement and momentum. And for us to understand all of the movements of how we restore this level of faith and hope and abundance and everything that we're needing that Jupiter represents, there's a lot of work to be done. Because again, this full moon in Leo is in a quincunx to Saturn. There is some level of responsibility that we have either not taken on our own, that we were not ready in some way to be held to, or we are recognizing that an authority figure or some level of support that we once had, we're no longer going to have. And we have to start taking additional steps forward to be able to thrive. Additional responsible steps forward. So, for those that were so happy about the cards last time, we're doing the cards again. So I got the cards, just kind of showing everybody some different artwork. If you have never seen one of my full moon or new moon videos, the way that I do this is this has to do with your rising sign. You can listen to your sun and your moon sign. If you're a daytime chart, your sun sign is always helpful. If you're a nighttime chart, in my opinion, listening to your moon sign is super helpful. Some people will listen to all three. That is okay. But everything that I do based off of this energy is based off of rising sign. So here we go. January 25th, today, the full moon is in Leo, and we are starting with Aries and Aries rising. Just a second. All right, guys, I'm still getting over this junk. I don't know when it's going to be gone. One of my medical professional people said that the flu this year has like an 8-week lingering effect. So I'm not really happy about that. So far, it's proving to be correct. Okay. So for Aries and Aries rising, this is a full moon in your fifth house of love and luck and joy and happiness and children. Again, it is a quincunx into towards Saturn in your 12th house. It is squaring Jupiter in your second house, Queen of Cups. Very, very heart emotional energy. We have certain things that are speaking to our heart, and that makes so much sense. The heart chakra tied to Leo. There's so many things that are coming from the heart. For us to be able to get certain financial things adjusted moving forward, because of where Jupiter has been in your second house of money, we are going to have to make a lot of adjustments in certain ways in our career, given the rest of the transits that are going through the 10th house, with how we connect with certain people, but also ending certain old habits. Now, that's not just specific to the full moon in Leo. That is part of the energy as we move forward. And many of us are seeing where those changes are through this full moon. So, to understand how we progress, we need to pay attention to what is coming to light. What has recently come to light through that Sun-Pluto conjunction, because remember, it went between Capricorn and Aquarius. What is going to continue to come through in that path and where that path is taking you as we go through this full moon in Leo. In the moment, this should feel like a really happy-go-lucky energy. It is in your fifth house of love and luck and joy. There's something about wanting to be playful and have a lot of fun. Many of you are feeling very, very empowered right now because your chart ruler, Mars, is in its exaltation. It's in Capricorn. But if everybody's not on your vibe and they're not at your level, you can find yourself very, very quickly hitting a wall with certain people. And that can happen this weekend. So a couple of the cards that we have so far, we have the Queen of Cups, like I said, and then one that came out immediately afterwards was the Ten of Coin. Again, there's a lot of this energy that speaks through Jupiter, but there's a lot of this energy that's also speaking through Saturn. We have a certain type of trajectory. We have some level of emotional fulfillment that we are wanting to get into. We understand the responsibilities that we need to take, and we also need to make certain adjustments for the future to be successful. Six of Cups, 10 of Wands. This 10 of Wands came out as soon as I said there are certain habits, whether they are personal habits, professional habits, health habits. There are certain habits that need to come to an end. And it's very, very likely, even though that you're not necessarily ready to make that adjustment, they're going to shed light very, very soon if they haven't already. There are certain things that need to be adjusted, that need to come to an end, that need to be put in a different direction because they're not fitting with where you're going next. All of this energy is pushing us towards eclipse season. All of this energy is pushing us towards a new moon in your first house, because new versions of you are going to be coming through as we continue through the first half of 2024. There's a lot of things that have to come to a close, that will have to come to a purging energy one more time, especially as we get closer to Pisces season, for all of this successful energy to come through. Be aware of that. There are adjustments that need to change. So one more time. Aries rising, Queen of Cups, 10 of Coin, 6 of Cups, and the 10 of Wands. These are your cards. And I will post these pictures on Facebook like I did last time, for anybody that wants to play with them later. Okay. So move this forward. Taurus and Taurus rising. This is an interesting full moon. I'm not really saying this in the intro, but I am saying this to you guys directly. This full moon is happening at that placement where Jupiter and Venus squared. Venus and Jupiter had their first square at 5 degrees. And there's a big portion of this energy that really goes into like going back to what was going on last summer and where we were trying to get steps going forward and where we were trying to put some things moving forward, and knowing how those energies kind of played out and where they're going to go next. This is a full moon in your fourth house of home and home life and family, roots, ancestry, genetics, mothers, and matrons. Your chart ruler is in the ninth house. Some of us are going to be having to do a lot of travel in the weeks ahead if we haven't already started. Some of us can also find ourselves going back to school, doing some level of training, doing something in regards to where we are going next in our career, and knowing that wherever we're going next in this career is going to directly impact where we call home. Is it going to do it necessarily in the immediate? No, but there's planning involved. We can feel certain things coming about. In many ways, there are certain things that are starting to come to light, epiphany type energies, realizations of where adjustments need to be. Some of us are having certain realizations about what's going on with people in our lives, with people in our family, specifically mothers and matrons. Because again, this is a full moon in your fourth house. With Venus in the ninth, we can be doing a lot with institutions. That's not always the training and education part. Sometimes that also has to do with hospitals, medical checks, and where our focus needs to be. Now, some of us are dealing with certain things and having certain things come to light and not necessarily feeling supported by our friends, by our coworkers. We're trying to talk to people and make people understand I've got things going on, but they're not necessarily understanding. They can't understand for you what you're going through. They've never been in this position before. You're running into these situations. Some of you are even feeling like the people that you're trying to deal with have no love or support for you at all, especially whenever it comes to elders and responsibility. It's been a rough year for Taurus risings. Not talking about so far in 2024. I mean, like literally the last 12 months. It's been a rough year for Taurus risings. And a lot of that is starting to come to a close, and new things are going to start to come through. So, sorry. We've got a couple of cards here. The Ten of Cups, again, Jupiter's in your first house. There is an amount of healing. There's an amount of focus towards growth and independence that is really going to start to take shape. And there is certain things that either has recently come to light or is about to come to light that, again, are going to be a big part of the planning of your trajectory. So much information is coming through in the moment each time that you immediately have to make adjustments. You're immediately having to come up with a solution. You're immediately having to put two and two together because other people aren't. For whatever reason, you got two doctors that are supposed to be specialists in their field, but they can't get their shit together in some way, shape, or form. And it's like you are trying to connect certain dots that other people have not quite realized. There's going to be a lot of things that really start to become a part of your focus as we move into Aquarius season. The next three cards we have, this is all swords. So this is all air sign. The Page of Swords. Some of this will have to do with truth, new truths, new facts, new information. Whenever it comes to pages that can always have something to do with kids, this is a full moon in that fourth house of home and home life and family. There can be certain information that comes out that affects the kids, that are about the kids, just to be clear, but there can also just be new bits of new information from people that don't fully understand what they're saying in the moment or where this information is coming from. This can cause a lot of conflict. We've got the Five of Swords and the Seven of Swords. I'm trying to make this come clear. Come on. There we go. This can cause a lot of conflict. This can come with a lot of conflict. I feel like more so if we have any kind of conflict, it's going to come right after the full moon. As soon as that Mercury-Mars conjunction, that can be a part of the conflict, or this can be a part of the conflict that starts to come through whenever we have those conjunctions to Pluto moving into February. Because each of the planets that are going through Capricorn right now, I haven't really said this fully on the podcast for like every sign in a big episode yet. So I'm saying this kind of directly to you guys. All of those planets that are going through Capricorn right now, they're all going to make 0-degree conjunctions to Pluto once they go into Aquarius. So understand some of the information that's coming to light can either lead to a lot of conflict later on. It can potentially lead to some level of betrayal. It can lead to some level of uncertainty and feeling a need to really get to a certain kind of truth. This isn't all tied to the full moon, just kind of going with this. And understand immediately following this full moon in another way, Uranus in your first house is going to turn direct. Uranus rules Aquarius. There is going to be a shift in your independence based off of the information and the situations and the discussions and the potential of conflict that come through in these immediate days ahead, but also as we get into Aquarius season. Deeper into the Aquarius season. We're in Aquarius season, but deeper into the Aquarius transits. Okay. So I'm going to move this over for Gemini and Gemini risings. Geminis, this is a full moon in your third house. Third house can have to do with siblings. It can have to do with communication. It can have to do with marketing. It can have to do with branding. It can have to do with education. But usually if it's education, it's like childhood education, elementary education, things along these lines. There can be a lot of things that is very much tied to education and training. We can have the different shifts in our commute coming through based off of like adjustments that we've just made in our career. We can be leaving behind prior responsibilities because again, we've just made a change in career. All of those squares to Saturn and Neptune made some very big things come to light as we went through the last of those Sagittarius transits. So that last part of December and as we went into January, there was a lot of things that came to light recently. Now, not everything. There's still a few things that's going on that you are not aware of. The thing about the moon card is that the moon does not shed light itself. It is actually a reflection of energy. It reflects light. And there will still always be something that is not being completely seen because there's some shadow element involved. There's still a darkness involved. Some of the situations that you guys are dealing with, Gemini risings, can have to do with some of the health stuff that came through in the last eclipse season. Some of you are having to understand some level of healing and recovery with Jupiter still going through your 12th, but we're going to get some level of communication or something that's meant to come through that kind of feeds into that transformation. It's not going to be immediate. A lot of you have been having to go through a healing stage in some way. That's not on purpose. Well, in a lot of ways that can be on purpose. In some of the ways it has been based off of chance. Listen to your intuition. Listen to the universe and the universal messages that are coming through when you're having certain discussions and all of a sudden you hear that ringing in your ears. That ringing is on purpose. That ringing is telling you, pay attention. This is deeper than what you think. This is a bigger message than what you realize. There's a lot of things that have to do with like overcoming the past, letting go of certain things, letting go of things tied to elders, letting go of certain things tied to responsibilities. And some of you are going to be having things tied to like payouts and payoffs or adjustments in pay based off of the transits at hand. We're changing something in our mindset. We're changing something in the way that we communicate. We have so many like shifts when it comes to a third house full moon. So you guys had a couple of cards come through. We had that moon card, of course. The other two things that came out, and these kind of came out together, was the Hermit card and the Queen of Cups. Now, the Hermit card came out whenever I was talking about like with Jupiter in your 12th, you're having to go through a lot of healing. And the things about Jupiter in the 12th is that healing, the recovery, whatever we're going through, whatever we're trying to understand, whatever we're trying to put to bed, depending on the level of healing that I'm talking about, Understand that Jupiter going through the 12th is later going to lead to Jupiter entering your first house. And that is going to lead to a lot of attention and a lot of capability in regards to how you draw attention, Queen of Cups. There is something that needs to be healed, whether it's on a physical level, whether it's on a mental level, whether it has to do with these connections that were just tested through all those seventh house transits. All of these energies are leading to a very specific type of like transformation and a direction, a path. The Death card is about transformation. This Mercury-Mars conjunction, the third one, Mercury being your chart ruler, is going to be in your 8th house, transformation. If you've listened to your intuition, if you've listened to everything as we've gone through these last few months of all the Mercury-Mars conjunctions, then they've all led you to something that is going to allow for something to transform, is going to allow for something to really come through. For many Gemini risings, you guys have been waiting for something to happen. Your waiting game has not been of choice. It's been because other people have drugged things along, or they haven't been able to focus appropriately. But that focus is meant to change. And having more understanding moving forward is about to come through. Use your words carefully. Don't be surprised if over the weekend we have some level of anger come out or some kind of tiff or argument with that Mercury-Mars conjunction, but also pay attention to something kind of finally coming to a close or getting some last round of information tied to those prior events. With you guys, I'm kind of locked more on that Mercury-Mars conjunction than I am the full moon in Leo. And again, the prior dates of that Mercury-Mars conjunction, the weekend of October 28th and 29th, and then the week of between Christmas and New Year's. So that was exact on December 27th, but all those other transits that week was December 26th, 27th, 28th, that time frame. So be aware and pay attention to a lot of those energies, because there's something that you've already been dealing with for a while that's kind of coming to a peak, it's coming to a head, and you're getting new parts of the information. And it's not just going to happen during this full moon. It's going to start to really shape up as we get into Aquarius season. A lot more information as to what's been going on, whether it's having to do with courthouses, institutions in that regard, or having to do with like medical facilities, institutions in that regard, because we're going into those ninth house transits very, very soon. We know there's going to be a shift in the communication that's taking time to completely unfold. Okay. Some of you are kind of putting some things together in regards to like career, and even that it's still taking time for everything to unfold. There's going to be some people that as you're trying to like unleash certain things or release certain things or do new things in your career, that you're going in a direction, and I'm not doubting your direction at all. It's more along the lines of you're going in a direction that not everybody is aware is going to happen, and it's going to take time to spread the word, to spread the news, to get everybody up to speed. Okay. Okay. For Cancers and Cancer risings, this is a full moon in your second house of money, your assets, the way you spend money, the way that you make money, the way that you do things with money. Like there's some financial elements involved, and a lot of your financial elements are not having to deal with you directly. Some of you are having to do some things in regards to like catching up payments, catching up certain things tied to that have been delayed for the last umpteen months, like since last summer. We're catching up on the debt. We're trying to get some things paid off and put into order. We're trying to get some things realized. Many of you are very much reliant on other people right now in regards to career, in regards to partnership, in regards to business. There's so many things that are going on with other people this week that are going to be kind of coming to a head as we get into the weekend, and they can directly impact, your client relationships, your friendships in some way. An easy way to look at this is you could be buying something for a friend, selling something to a friend, having to do something financially for a friend, or we're trying to get something to fully adjust for us financially based off of how we're connecting to clients, and we're changing something in regards to that. And that is the thing that's reliant on other people. It's reliant on them to receive that message appropriately. It is allowing for them to process where adjustments have been made, and knowing that some elements of what we're going to be doing next is not just going to be directed in the moment. It's going to be directed with how we deal with like long-term knowledge, long-term responsibility, and making sure we're making good, steady decisions moving into the future. So we have the full moon right here, squaring Jupiter in the quincunx to Saturn, and all this going on in Saturn signs. Be very aware of what's recently come to light with the Sun-Pluto conjunction. There's a lot of power to that energy, but also remember that a lot of where we're going moving forward is to allow for a new thing to come for you in career as we get closer to eclipse season. We are laying a foundation, and many of the Cancer risings, your foundation is based off of like how you are connecting to other people, how you're connecting to people in institutions. Some of you are having to do a lot more things extra, either with like banking or in medical, but understand that we're moving into a very fast moving energy up ahead. Okay. We have the Hierophant. There's always something in regards to tradition and hierarchy whenever it comes to Hierophant. Remember, this is a full moon that is in a quincunx to Saturn. So some of what we are starting to do next might not be the traditional method. It might not be the way other people have done it in the past. We're having to think outside the box. And no matter what, that's not necessarily meant to be a bad thing. All of this is about putting forth the work to create success and to make sure things are moving in a good direction moving forward. We're laying a foundation all through January, making things solidify as we get into the transits of February and into early March. This is all about laying the foundation, doing the work, and making other people realize that the old way is not always the best way. The thing about Saturn going through Pisces is that we're shifting tradition. Where before we were stubborn of like, this is the way we were always going to do it. We've had nearly 6 years of Saturn going through Saturn ruled signs. But over the last year, it's become very evident that the old way is not always the best way. And the more that we can make people realize that, the more that we can make people come to terms with certain things and trust the energy that you are working towards, that you are creating, trust where you're putting your money, trust where you're investing your time, they're going to start to see very, very quickly, Eight of Wands, just how that energy is manifesting for you. That Magician card is very important. You can do new things even if everybody's not necessarily ready for it. Any ideas that you're having, any things that you're trying to make work with other people, just because they don't necessarily understand it in the moment doesn't mean that you are wrong. You are on a very specific path right now, and everything that you are trying to do is about creating something new for the way that you see your career and how you see yourself moving into the future and how you are going into a whole new chapter of your life. You are laying the foundation now. Not everybody is going to understand it, but this is what you are doing. So I love this energy for you guys. All right. Okay. So moving this along, we're going to get to Leos and Leo risings. This is all about you guys. We are making adjustments. We are making changes for how we want to succeed in the future, how we want to feel comfortable in the future. Many of us are having to deal with some things in regards to health. Many of us are having to make some changes in our regards to our career. Many of us are trying to finally get some things put together that have not been feeling like they've been put together in forever. Like I said this before, Leo rising, you guys have really been going through it since May of last year. Now we're starting to maneuver some things into a different direction. As we start to take these steps forward, there's still a lot of work involved. That work is based off of everything that's going through your 6th house, but also the square to Jupiter in your 10th. Now, for some of you, the work that is going to be had is going to either be because you no longer have certain financial support from another person, because again, this is a full moon in a quincunx to Saturn in your 8th, or you no longer have a tie to a certain person. Some of you are having to deal with something because they have not been doing the I'm going to say the fiduciary responsibilities. And that's going to be a big portion of how you continue to move forward. Some of you are having to alleviate certain financial responsibilities so that way you can actually get some things put together for you in regards to the future. There's a lot of work going on for Leo risings and a lot of restructuring of where we invest our time moving forward. Many of you are having to make a change to rebuild your confidence after so many tests have impacted you since last summer. And every time you make one step forward, you get into a better position. You're aligning yourself into something better. And the way that you are connecting with people is meant to change for the next 20 years. The old way of doing things is no longer for you. Waiting for, everything to blow over and, oh, it's going to get so much better after this. No, that wasn't an option. Many of you have had to walk away from the old way of doing things. You had 2 cards that actually speak to that right as they came out. I'll show you these 2. These aren't your first 2 cards. They're actually your 3rd and your 4th. But right as I said, that we had that Hermit and we had that 8 of Swords. Many of you have been waiting for something to just blow over. And you know that you can get back out there and do something different. But the thing is, it's like part of this energy is making you face that, no, it's not going to work out that way. You're going to have to make an adjustment. You're going to hit a bit of a wall. And many of you are going to have to pivot moving forward. You have to face a fear. You have to do that work. You have to start really making the adjustment in regards to how you can progress from here. There's so much energy that speaks to change, but this change is a change in you, a change in your mind, a change in your identity. And that might feel like a betrayal in the moment, 3 of Swords. Some of you might be making changes moving forward because you have just experienced a betrayal. And that can be this energy of like, I have to move forward from here because I no longer have the support that I thought I once had. And that's a big possibility. But that doesn't necessarily mean that good things aren't coming, because they are. There's just a lot of work and refocusing in your routine to be able to make that happen. Choices are needing to be had to make that happen. Okay, so making things happen. We got the Magician card. We have a lot of things that are coming to light. And again, the 8 of Coins, a lot of the energy of like making sure we're putting our energy in the right place and doing all of the right level of work for this level of manifestation. Whenever I was talking about, again, waiting for things to blow over and trying to just kind of bury our head in the sand and not being able to progress from here. These are those 3rd and 4th card that came out, the Hermit card and the 8 of Swords. Many of you are having to start making steps forward because you no longer have certain types of support, whatever that support is for some of you, especially with that Sun-Pluto conjunction. It could have felt like a betrayal. And that can also be coming through in this energy. But no matter what, we have to make certain decisions because the world is not going to wait for us to just let everything blow over. We have to make certain decisions with where we start to focus our energy next and how we start to do things next and how we start to progress moving forward this entire lunar month ahead. So from now until the moon comes back into Leo later in February, is about understanding the new person that is going to come through and the choices that need to be made in your surroundings based off of the people that you're sharing your space with and how those people are feeding into your future moving forward. A lot of the changes for the entire lunar month ahead, and for Leo risings, because this is a first house full moon, this is why I'm saying the entire lunar month for you guys. You're going to have a lot of things that very much come to light that impact this entire month. And you'll see that adjustment and change fully manifest in once we get to next month when the moon comes back into Leo, and you're going to understand why changes have been necessary. Okay, moving this along. We're going to get to Virgos and Virgo risings. Virgos, this is a little different for you guys, and there can be some elements that start to pop up in this full moon and in the weeks that follow that directly take us back to what we were dealing with last summer, what we were dealing with in that Venus retrograde. There's certain things that were very much tested, certain things that felt like they were a bit of an undoing. We had so many things that came to an end and came to a close. Many of you had a lot of things tied to your mental health that came to the surface during that Venus retrograde, that now, based off of either no longer feeling like we have the support of a partner, no longer feeling like we can be a responsible person in a relationship, we are having to make certain type of health adjustments, mental health in a lot of your guys' lives, Virgo risings. Some of you are having to go over the next lunar month ahead, having to check yourself, do certain amounts of healing work. You're going to have to do a lot of mental energy moving forward so that way you can understand how to progress. Some of this energy is going to be trauma bonding and trauma healing that goes all the way back to your childhood. Some of this is going to be understanding and leaving certain people and certain things behind that will no longer speak to where you're going to go next. We're going to be making a huge adjustment moving forward and knowing that a lot of the energy for you guys, whether it has to do with in the financial sense and whether it has to do within the family aspect, whether it has to do within partnerships, we need to heal the things that are holding us back. And there's something about this for Virgo risings that I feel like we have a path that's meant to come through. We have a new direction. The undoing of last summer and the purging energy is meant to fall away so new things and a new trajectory can come through, a new beginning can come through. And for many of you, it's meant to be about stability. But in the moment, we're reaching our peak with where things have been unstable, where we have felt confused by things. We are starting to take the steps forward in rebuilding our physical, mental, and emotional health. There's so much energy about letting go of the past because new direction and new success and stability is meant to come through. And that's really interesting because that's not what I would normally say during a 12th house full moon, but that's what kind of came through the cards. So here we go. First one that came through was the King of Wands. We have to let go of the past. If we're wanting to be able to restore certain connections tied to relationships, then we have to let go of the past. Some of us are having to let go of certain secrets. Again, we're having to heal certain wounds. Some of us, it goes all the way back to our childhood. But all of these things are the things that we are trying to let go of that have been keeping us from some level of success. Six of Wands. The next two that came through, they actually came through together, was the Ace of Coins and the Four of Wands. What I love about the Four of Wands, what I always tell people in their personal readings is, I always think of a chair, that's level of stability. You want all four legs of the chair to be on the ground before you put your ass on the seat. Because if not, you're going to topple over. There's so many things that need to be healed, that needs to be worked through, that needs to be processed, that can restore your faith. Many of you are having to go to therapy for the first time. You're taking on these new levels of routine. And the more you set into this and level into this and really connect with this energy, it is going to allow for so much stability to come through. And after that stability can set in, after that energy can really set through, and after we can really hone in on what needs to be healed from the past, all of those insecurities, so many levels of realization and self-actualization can follow. We have the Judgment and the Emperor card. These were your last two cards. So for so many Virgo risings, a path of healing, a path of moving forward. Many of you are connecting with a new guru for the first time. You're going into medical facilities for the first time. You are going into new levels of training or education for the first time, and you're starting to build some level of a new routine. And the more you're building these solid earthy energies, the more grounded you feel. Sitting in place, not doing anything, not contributing, not being productive, not being the best version of you for so long. We had so much of Mercury going through Sagittarius, has really messed with your mind. Some of the energies that's going to pick back up as we go through the month ahead with this full moon is going to be overcoming those negative things that came through in that Venus retrograde. Healing is the journey. Some of you are starting new paths based off of a healing connection. You're getting more in tune with who you are spiritually. And this entire month ahead will feel like a new level of stability and a new you that's starting to come through, that's going to impact your finances as we get closer to eclipse season. Growth, change, and stability. I like this full moon for you. It's rare for me to say I like a 12th house full moon, but even the cards came through that there's a lot of stability that's going to follow this full moon. You need this energy. You need this energy to purge, to self-actualize where you're going next. Okay. All right, guys. I want to be over this junk. I really do. Okay. For Libras and Libra risings, this is a full moon in your 11th house of friends and network and colleagues and people that you choose to share your space with and people that you choose to share your time with. If you guys had anything negative when it comes to the people that you connect with back over the Venus retrograde, we can finally come to a close with certain connections and certain agreements and certain things that happened back then. We can finally overcome them. You can start to feel something adjust moving forward with the way that you connect with certain people, clients, colleagues, knowing that you're doing some things with them for the last time. Now, that doesn't have to be the negative thing. A lot of your focus as we continue moving forward over this month ahead is going to be in regards to family. It is going to be in regards to home, in regards to your roots, in regards to your ancestry. And some of you might have just had recently something that came to light in the Sun-Pluto conjunction or that new moon in Capricorn that directly impacted this area that is now starting to shift your focus. Your focus is being more on how you connect with loved ones, how you connect to things tied to your childhood, how you actually connect to your children. And there can be an energy of transformation involved because this is a full moon in your 11th house, but it's a full moon squaring Jupiter in your 8th. The other Venus ruled sign. Understand that endings are going to happen. There is this amount of closure that is really going to start to set in as we continue throughout the first parts of this year. And some things are going to be okay. Other things are going to make you want to kind of become reclusive. They're going to make you want to withdraw from certain people. Some of you are going to realize you can't trust certain people. You can't trust certain people in regards to work. You can't trust certain people that you used to be able to share your space with. Some of the things that they have come out of their mouth has almost felt like a betrayal. We understand that there is a shift involved. And the more that that shift happens, the more it makes us want to stay into ourselves, the more it's going to make us want to really take a step back for our own personal mental health and a success. Now, the one thing about Venus in your 4th is, again, being home and doing those things at home and with your family can be stabilizing and it can be healing. The reason many Libra risings are having to go through so much purge energy is because you have the South Node going through your first house. And so much of what's going on energetically around you is deeply impacting your body. Because again, the South Node is the body without a head. And every time somebody says something wrong, even if it doesn't come out wrong or it doesn't sound wrong in the moment, you feel it. And so much of this energy is about how it's making you feel. Some of you are about to end some friendships. Some of you, it's going to be making this change because it's not financially beneficial for you anymore. Others are going to be making certain steps forward and how they are able to build new success. It really kind of comes down to your Time Lord and how the empowerment of Venus continues as she goes through Capricorn. Okay. You guys had like a very mixed energy come through. Like your first half, you have 6 cards altogether. Your first half go a little bit darker. And it also kind of tells me that some things are going to happen with Aquarius season because we have so many swords. But then we also have some really lighter cards. So let's be clear about that. The first one that came out was actually the 10 of Swords. Again, if you had a lot of tests that occurred back at that Venus retrograde, then that can be leading into something that's coming to a close or something that's coming to an end when it comes to a specific friend, colleagues, people that you've entrusted your space with. There's been something that has gone on literally since last summer that is going to finally start to come to a close. And again, a lot of what's been coming to a close or what can be feeling like a bit of a betrayal, 3 of Swords, can really be kind of putting you more into a reclusive stance whenever it is coming to these certain people, whether it's like all of your coworkers or a handful of them, whether it's your clients, whether it's your girlfriend from high school that suddenly doesn't want to act like the same kind of person that she used to be, like girl time is not the same. There's something here that the more you feel like there's a two-facedness or something like this, it's making you withdraw. So therefore, a lot of Libra risings, again, you can be around certain people and whenever their energy is wrong for you, you feel it in your body more so right now than anything else. And there is this energy of having to let some things go. However, whenever we are in that hermit mode, I'm going to keep that hermit card for just a second. We are in this hermit mode and we start to focus more on what we are wanting to build for the long term, where we are wanting to put our focus in regards to our family, in regards to our home life. Then we have a lot more stability in the energy. 6 of Coins. There can be a lot of success. There can be a lot of good work. There can be a lot of payoff that can happen in regards to that full moon being in a square to Jupiter. There can be a lot of things that are starting to transform in a lot of good ways that give us some level of like mental and or emotional return. And there is a lot of stability that's coming through with the 10 of Coins and the 9 of Cups. What I always think about with the 9 of Cups is it's better to be lucky than smart. There's a huge luck element here. Again, this full moon is squaring Jupiter. There can be a lot of luck, emotional turnaround, financial turnaround that starts to really play through. I don't necessarily want to say based off the astrology that this is all happening, in the next few weeks, but I do feel like this is going to happen as we go through the entire first quarter. And we're starting to see that one thing coming to a close, but 2, something else coming to light and something else being realized on how we connect with certain people that's going to benefit us financially. You can end one bad client relationship to go towards a better one. You can stop working around certain people, transfer jobs or something along these lines, based off of the fact that we went from a full moon in Cancer now to a full moon in Leo. There can be a big portion of this energy that really takes us into that new path and that new direction. Lean into the new as you're seeing those little things come to light and that the path that's coming through. Many of us have been waiting for something to kind of manifest into a more positive light. And now we are starting to really turn into that focus more and more and more as we continue. Okay. Moving this along. And again, I will be posting the pictures on Facebook and Instagram like I did last time. Okay. For Scorpios and Scorpio risings, this is a full moon in our 10th house of career and our public image and where we are meant to shine in this world, how we shine, how we are doing things. And a lot of things coming on for Scorpio risings is directly impacting the way that we connect with the world. Even though Aquarius rules our fourth house of home life, and family, Aquarius in general still impacts people. Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius, is in that seventh house of relationships and partnerships and connections to other people. Understand that now that Pluto, our chart ruler, is in that sign of Aquarius, there's going to be a lot more focus with how, one, yes, we connect with our home life, our roots, our family, our understanding of our genetics and our traditions. Those will also be realized, but there's also going to be a very big coming to terms with how we connect with people over these next 2 years and how that connection is going to impact us on a very big level. Pluto, our chart ruler, is now in Aquarius. Pluto's exalted in Aquarius. Uranus is exalted in Taurus. I'm sorry, is exalted in Scorpio. I said that wrong. Uranus is in Taurus. That's why I said it that way. But Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. Pluto is exalted in Aquarius. Pluto is heavily empowered. There is a growth and a shift and empowerment when it comes to Pluto in Aquarius. There's a lot of things that are meant to going to come to light. There's a lot of adjustments in regards to career. And this is not going to be based off of luck. This is not going to be based off of love connections. This is going to be based off of the hard work that needs to happen. We have so much that needs to come to light, so much that's about to come to light, so much that is changing for us that it makes us wonder how things were ever so poorly handled. Sorry, we have a couple cards here. I'm trying to get them out. New truths, new ways of thinking, new things are coming to light. And the more we lean into this energy of what's coming to light, the more we accept certain truths, the better the outlook for the future can be. The way that we are connecting with other people, the way that we are dealing with certain legal matters, and the way those things are going to come about as over the months ahead. Because for some people, it is legal matters. The way that we are partnering with certain people is going to adjust. Our personal strength is going to adjust. Our personal power is adjusting. And understanding how that path from here is allowing things to come to light is also then understanding how we are going to shine moving forward. We are entering. For Scorpio risings and Aquarius risings, Pluto and Aquarius is huge because we are gaining a whole new level of personal power in regards to how we deal with things moving into the future. Okay. So right as I got started, the first card that came out was the Judgment card, and then I shuffled for a while before the other ones kind of came out. So again, there is so much actualization and realization and things that are coming to light with the way that we see ourselves moving into the future and how we are trying to get things handled in career, that there's going to be a lot of epiphany level of energy and a lot of things that need to come to light and a lot of things that really need us to make certain decisions. Once those things come to light, moon card, and we're able to accept certain truths and certain facts, whether those truths are about other people. Uranus and Jupiter are in the 7th. Uranus is about to turn direct in the 7th. The more information is started to be accepted, the more information is starting to come to light, the more stabilizing the path will be. The more financially stabilizing, but also the more empowered that we will be. We are laying a foundation for where our focus is going to be in eclipse season. As we get through the rest of the first quarter, as we start to get into the timelines of late March into April, There will be a whole new level of energy of how we work, how we succeed, where we put our time, and how we connect to certain people that is going to change. We are still laying the groundwork for where we're going next. This is a full moon in the 10th house of career that is showing you a path and a direction. And we have a lot of work to do in this direction to be able to achieve this energy. Pay attention to the messages of the universe as they're coming through. Pay attention to the facts as they're coming through. Pay attention to how things are progressing. And if you are forcing something to progress, then that can be something later on that turns into a negative. If it unfolds naturally and you're not having to push and they just kind of fall into place as they need to go, then that energy right there is speaking more in your favor. Be aware of how much effort and strive that you are forcing into something versus how much is unfolding naturally. Because sometimes whenever you're forcing something, all you're doing is hitting a brick wall. That brick wall is not going to move as fast as you want it to. Just be aware of that. Sometimes we're the brick wall. And that doesn't necessarily need to be that way either. If anyone is adjusting in this energy right now, it's the Scorpio risings. And we have been since the Mars rebirth. Long-term adjustments, long-term change. And now we are in that momentum of building the foundation of where that change is going to really pop off in April. The more work and the more focus that we do right now is going to deeply impact our career as we progress throughout the rest of 2024. Okay. Okay. Moving this along, we're going to get to Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings. Okay. This is a full moon in your 9th house. Easy peasy. Some of y'all want to travel. Some of y'all are getting the bug. Some of y'all are wanting to get out of Dodge. You're wanting to go experience something. You want to go on an adventure. You want to do something. That's okay. That's a normal thing for a Sagittarius rising. Y'all don't sit still very well. However, some of you are having to go into new levels of education, or you're having some level of education that you've already been working on since the Venus retrograde. Since Venus was in Leo, I should say it that way, not necessarily the Venus retrograde. That is finally coming to like an actualization. It's finally being understood. There's a path and a direction that is finally truly being understood. And many of you are taking on new ways of caring for people, new ways of caring for yourself, new ways of doing things in your routine and in your work. Coming through, we got the Fool card, new. Because we have new things that need to be handled in our finances. We have so many things going on in that second house of money right now. The good thing for you guys is Pluto is out of there at least until September. At least until September. Pluto will have one more dip into Capricorn at the end of the year between September and November, but that will be the last of it for 200 plus years. So don't worry about that too much right now. We have a lot of focus on how we get certain things financially lined out. Some of us are spending a little bit more. Sorry. Some of us are spending a lot more money than we need to be spending right now. Understand that. But a lot of you are starting to really put that spending and that focus in regards to our family, in regards to what we're doing for work. A lot of us are having to do some extra things at work. We have been really having to make some of those responsible decisions. And even in the moment, even if we're getting that bug to travel somewhere, that's not necessarily going to keep you from making all of those responsible decisions. Sometimes we just need our head to get a little bit more clear. That's okay. I feel like there's a clarity involved. Oh, you need to be aware of who you are sharing your space with. You need to be aware of what's going on in the connections. And you need to be aware of potentially financial frustration as we get into the weekend. Okay. We got a couple things that is going on right here. So you already knew about the Fool card. That was your first card that came out. We have a lot of new things on the horizon. A lot of you, again, we're wanting to go somewhere. We're wanting to go on a new experience. We need to go on an adventure. We need to go explore something. Some of us are really going to have things tied to, education and training that we've been dealing with since last fall that are going to like fully get actualized. And it's going to make us like realize that we have put a lot of this work energy into the right place. Judgment card and the Three of Coins. The thing about the Three of Coins that I love, especially with this deck, like it actually shows like the little oil filled emblems right here. Those pumps are always working. We are always working for what's going to erupt later on. There's so much eruption energy whenever it comes to the long-term work that we need to do. Understand that you are doing that work. Jupiter is your chart ruler. Jupiter is in your 6th house of health. The work timeline has been necessary, but where we were having delays, we are not having delays anymore. And you're going to start to feel a lot more secure in the things that you're doing. Now, when it comes to those financial responsibilities, you really need to be aware of your budget. You do. Some of you are going to find yourselves wanting to go on that adventure, but very quickly overspending. And that's a big possibility. You need to really be careful with your budget of where you're putting your money in regards to the playthings, but also where you're putting your money in regards to the repairs. And again, the responsibilities of what needs to be done in regards to home, in regards to your home life, in regards to anything in regards to your actual house. Saturn is in that 4th house of home life, and family. And you need to be very, very aware of like how much money you're giving out and how much stuff you're keeping for yourself. Some of you are having to really make certain decisions on whether you can continue to be financially responsible in the same ways that you have been. And there is a certain amount of truth that's going to come through, new information, certain decisions, whether it's being made with between you and a partner, or by a partner, or by a colleague, or something along those lines, that's going to result in us having to make a decision on which path we continue down. And many of you, based on those Mercury-Mars conjunctions, are going to realize that certain information, certain truths, certain decisions that you've dealt with in the past are going to adjust your path in regards to how you make money, how you spend money, what you're doing with your money. There's so much still focused on your money and your assets. Many of you are going to go through some level of experience or training that's going to lead to new things in regards to career as we get closer to that Virgo full moon. Many of you are starting to really do the work and do the additional training that's going to empower a new path as we get deeper into this year. Again, sometimes you have to spend a little bit of money to make that money later. We have to invest our time wisely. Some of you are going to realize you can't continue to pay for certain things for other people, and that's going to be some hard truths for them to realize. Some of you are going to realize that either you can no longer have that same level of support from somebody, or you have to be better aware of what you're doing with your money moving forward. There's so much of this that speaks to money, and that has to do with like everything that's going on in that 2nd and 6th house. Okay. We'll move this along. We're going to get to Capricorns and Capricorn risings. Okay, so this is a full moon in your 8th house. This can have to do with financial matters, how you are, financially helping other people. This can have to do with debt, taxes, inheritance. Some of you are having to deal with secrets that have been coming to the surface. Some of you have been dealing with some things that have been getting stirred up since last summer that are finally starting to transmute and transform. In a lot of ways, this full moon in Leo squaring Jupiter in your 5th house of love, luck, romance, joy, happiness, and children are going to finally see the transformation in love, that transformation in luck. You're going to see that transformation in your children. It kind of depends on how this is going on in your personal life. But there is a bit of a transformation involved. And I really like that idea whenever it comes to Capricorn risings, because of everything that's been going through your first. You're finally ending the Pluto and Capricorn cycle. Mars is exalted in your first house. Many of you are feeling a whole different level of drive and ambition. You're feeling like you can get certain things going on, and you're really starting to feel that need to turn something around in regards to love, in regards to luck. You feel like you can communicate things in a way that have not been communicated before to the people that need to hear it. There's a certain amount of truth that needs to come through in the connections to allow connections to solidify. There's so much transformation in the air. But there's also going to be a lot of things tied to finances. It is an eighth house thing. So some of you might be paying off some debts. Some of you might be taking on some debt. Some of you might be having a payout or a payoff coming very, very soon with the full moon in Leo. Some of you are going to be finally able to let go of certain toxic connections that you have not been willing to own up to. Some of you are going to finally let certain secrets out of the bag. And that too can be a double-edged sword. Many of you are finally getting over certain types of fear that have been holding you back, and understanding that by letting go of these fears, we are also letting go of certain mental anguish that has been so deeply hidden within. Okay, we got about 6 cards here. So, Queen of Swords. We have a certain amount of truth, certain amounts of information, certain amounts of things that are going to be coming to the surface. Some of us are very matter of fact in our tones right now. And there is, again, a lot of energy that speaks to letting go of the past and letting go of certain toxic connections. Again, you are ending the Pluto in your first house cycle. So many Capricorn risings have really gone through a lot of shit since Pluto has been in Capricorn. But for a lot of Capricorn risings, it had to do with the timelines that happened 2019 through 2021. Like that time span was not good for Capricorn risings. And so many of you are still trying to come to terms with those old toxic connections and having to separate from the lies, separate from the things that really hurt your soul and hurt your heart. And you're going to finally find yourself able to overcome that mental anguish that has been holding you back for so long. 9 of Wands. Your strength is rebuilding. Your strength has been coming back. Getting through this energy from the past, those wounds and trauma we have needed to let go of, is going to finally allow for a lot of things to come together. Now, for some people, the Lover's card is exactly that. It's going to finally allow for certain people to come together in regards to a love connection. In other ways, it's going to finally allow for two people that support one another to come together. It doesn't have to be love in the sense of like romantic love. It can be two things coming together for the long term: connections, partnerships, friendships, business relationships. A lot of these things are about trying to overcome the past so the new version of you can finally come through, that new personal power that needs to finally happen. Mars in your first is meant to reignite your ambition and reignite your drive and reignite your hope. Mercury in your first is allowing for you to finally speak about these things and speak your truth, to let go of this mental anguish that's been holding you back for so long. Venus in your first is meant to attract the type of energy that allows for love and healing to finally commence. Opening up about the past, using your words, and voicing what has gone on is the whole thing that I have been talking about with you guys since Saturn went into Pisces. Y'all have been stubborn about talking about your emotions, talking about what has impacted you, because some level of you have felt like that trauma of Pluto in your first was necessary. It was required. It was not. It was not. And the more you're able to express those types of things, the more that you're going to be able to heal those types of things, the more your personal power is going to come together. And the way that you connect to other people is going to come together. As much as this is meant to be like a financial full moon, and that you can be paying off debt and paying off debts, you can be dealing with inheritance, you could be dealing with taxes or things along these lines. I feel like for a lot of Capricorn risings, this is more about transformation than anything else. And even the cards kind of came to that. So do with that what you will. Okay, my loves, moving this forward, we have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. This is a full moon in your seventh house of relationships, and partnerships, and legal obligations. And many of you have really had a lot going on since last summer that's going to finally come to a peak and kind of come to a conclusion. And it's really going to come down to however things progress moving forward, letting go of old ways of doing things, not pushing anymore to be the one that is responsible for everything for everyone, allowing other people to take certain steps on their own, allowing certain people to fail on their own, to succeed on their own, doing things on their own. So much of this energy is focused on you taking on a whole different level of personal accountability now that Pluto's in your first, and also allowing for certain things to change connected to other people. We have a full moon in the seventh house of relationships. Some of you are going to have certain legal commitments, not necessarily in the relationship sense, but actual like a lawsuit or something along these lines, that is going to start to adjust and change, whether you were financially going to be able to impact it or not. Some of you are letting go of certain responsibilities and telling them, I will no longer support you. I won't be doing these things anymore. Oh, some of you are going to have to deal with betrayal. Now, the thing is, you have just dealt with Pluto going through your 12th house, and there's a lot of things that has happened over the past many years. I don't want to say few, it's many years, that you have not been telling people. You've kept that shit to yourself. You've kept it a secret. That's not a bad thing. But at the other half of the spectrum is, it's impacted you in ways that you've never been able to voice before. And that's going to start being the energy of Pluto in your first. You have gone through so much tragedy, so much abuse, so much trauma in secret that you really want to be done with living certain things in secret, and understand that for you to be able to overcome those things, we need to get through this completion. And then there's going to be the process of healing. Pluto's now in your first, but we still have Mars, Mercury, and Venus in that 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, and endings. There is a lot of things coming to a close for you guys, and it is going to impact your family. It is going to impact the way that you move forward. It is going to impact your own version of personal progress and your own version of how you continue. And there's a lot of things you guys need to come to terms with. A lot of the focus is going to later turn into being on you. But in the moments, we're going to have to deal with some things that's been going on that we don't necessarily want to tell everybody about. Little by little, you will start to tell people. You will start to share more of it. You will start to have to be more open, because so many people are going to recognize that new version of you that you have been hiding from other people. And some people are going to recognize that you've been hurt deeper than you've been willing to let people on with knowing. And that's a possibility. But what they're also going to see is that regaining of personal power and that regaining of personal strength, and how letting go of this connection has released a whole different version, a happier version, a more intelligent version, a more aware version of yourself. There's still going to be some things that come to a close. Many of you are going to need to take a break and just kind of go in some different directions. Sometimes with Aquarius risings, I've seen with 12th house transits that one of the ways that you guys cope with everything is by getting out of Dodge. So you have to go on an adventure. You have to get out of a certain space. But many of you need to do this because it's a way to help your mental health. And with the nodes going through your third and ninth house, that's an even bigger thing right now. Escapism is not a bad thing if it's going to help your mental health. Taking a step back from certain people is not a bad thing if it's going to help your mental health. But understand that every time you have to take a step back, for whatever reason, you're gaining some kind of attention. Every time you make some kind of adjustment, people are paying attention to it and they're wondering what the next step is. As we get into February, which is just around the corner, there will be more and more things falling onto your plate, more and more decisions that you're going to have to deal with, more and more attention that is going to be on you. But there's also going to be a whole different level of strength and personal power. Okay. Again, there are certain things from the past that we need to let go of, that we need to come to terms with. There can still be some conflict involved. We've got this 5 of Wands. There's always a bickering energy with 5 of Wands. I'm reminding everybody we have that third and final Mercury-Mars conjunction this weekend. I feel like that energy can have conflict if we don't have a healthy way to transmute that energy. But a lot of what's been going on since last summer is about finally allowing something to come to a completion. It's finally allowing for something to end as we get into this full moon in Leo. So there is this ending energy here. And again, we still have all those transits going through that 12th house. So we are coming to a close with many, many things literally over the next, I'm going to say 3 weeks. It's not the full lunar month ahead with you guys, but every time you get one little bit of something completed, you get something moved, you get something gone to the next space, you sign off on this document, you sell this thing, you do whatever you need to do. Every little bit of closure is going to draw a lot of attention on you. And there can be times with these 12th house transits, just to be clear, that you're going to wonder if you've messed up, if you could have done something different, if you could have went in another direction, if there was a better way to handle everything. Anything that's meant to happen happened the way that it was supposed to happen. You didn't miss an opportunity. You didn't mess something up. It was, in some way, shape, or form, it was time to let a lot of things end because, again, we're in a whole timeline of transitioning into new beginnings. Things had to end. You didn't miss anything. You didn't mess anything up. It was time. Moving forward, again, this is whenever I started to say there's going to be a lot of attention moving on you. Many of you are going to be moving on in some level of independence. The thing about the 9 of Coins is I always call this like a boss bitch card. I know not every Aquarius rising is a female, but this is boss bitch energy. This is a woman in charge of her own finances, in charge of her own wealth, in charge of her own abundance, in charge of her own businesses, in charge of whatever she's wanting to do on her own without being subservient to another person. Somebody that is able to pursue their heart's desires. You are regaining an energy towards personal power that you have not known or felt in years. By ending this connection, by ending this relationship, by ending this situation that you've been dealing with for a while, something is meant to come to a close to allow a whole new energy to be pursued. And the one thing that I want to warn everybody with Aquarius risings is with Pluto in your first, you need to be the person in charge and not be subservient. Because the negative impact of Pluto in your first, and this is coming from somebody that has Pluto in the first conjunct the ascendant, the minute you are subservient to somebody else is a moment that you lose your personal power. You are going into a 20-year cycle where your focus needs to be your personal power. It needs to be boss bitch energy. If that other person is not on your level in every way, shape, or form, then they're not for you. Personal power. That's where you're going. Okay. Okay. Moving this forward, we're going to get to Pisces and Pisces rising. This is a full moon in your 6th house of health. Many of you had some health situations that came to light last summer. You had a lot of negative situations. Some of you had some positive situations. It might not have been your health. It could have been the health of someone else that you care about that was very heavily situated. But that energy of where you had to put your care into another person is actually coming to a close. Some of you, it's already just come to a close. Like recently, some of you, it's coming to a close right around this full moon's energy. And it's allowing for new connections and new energy to happen. There is a lot of energy towards moving towards new ways of healing and helping people heal, helping people overcome trauma, helping people overcome the severities of addiction and the severities of loss, the severities of letting things go. Pisces risings are in a very interesting energy because what I love about a Pisces rising, and I've said this to a lot of you in your individual readings, I'm saying this now, like on the podcast. What I love about a Pisces rising is when you're done with something, the emotions are gone. You're no longer filled with emotion. In fact, you're very, very logically filled. And what I've seen with a lot of Pisces risings, and many of you are starting to move towards an area of being able to help people understand how to overcome trauma, how to overcome addiction, how to overcome abuse, how to overcome fear. There's so much of the energy right now that is inspiring you to help other people with letting things go. Pluto's going to be in your 12th house for a very, very long time. And many of you are going to find yourselves going into a level of medicinal or care that has to do with helping people get through the darkest times of their life. I've said for a while that now that Saturn is in your first, many of you are either being forced to level up and deal with responsibility in a whole new way. Some of you are having to be responsible for the first time in a way that you've never dealt with before. Some of you are having to deal with like depression and you're dealing with the negative sense of this aspect. Some of you are seeing the bigger picture of how you can transmute the energy of what you have dealt with recently and harness it into a whole new way of helping people. There is a level of imbalance that has gone on for a while. There has been an area where many of you have felt stuck, waiting for something to make sense, waiting for something to come to light. And and when I said stuck, we get the hangman. So we've been feeling stuck. But you've been waiting for some level of inspiration this entire time that Neptune has been going through your first house. Now, Neptune has done a lot of other things to mess with you. It has dissolved certain energies. It has dissolved parts of your identity and allowed for a new person to come through. Many Pisces risings have had your huge amounts of your spiritual awakening as we have gone through Neptune in Pisces. Many of you have led that way, but some of you are so far into that future element that people think that you're delusional. It's not that you're delusional. It's the fact that you're deeper into the Neptunian side. If you're either a Pisces risings or you have Pisces placements, this Neptunian energy in Pisces is profound. And it's leading us all into a whole new trajectory on how we handle our beliefs, how we defend our beliefs, how we defend other people's beliefs, and how we understand things moving forward. There is so much energy towards restoring balance and getting unstuck. There can be something, again, that has gone back all the way to last fall that needs to come to a completion, that needs to come back into balance. We have the Justice card. But a lot of the energy, whether it has to do with the things that happened during the Venus retrograde or if it has to do with what's happened recently, it's forcing you to make a decision in some way. That decision, again, is meant to get you unstuck. Saturn is putting a whole different type of reality to Neptune in the first. Many of you are getting your backbone again. Many of you are getting your personal strength again. Many of you are breaking out of the fog that you have been stuck in for so long. And as you get more of that awareness, as you start to feel more of that energy, there is a path that is meant to come to light for you to pursue. I've spoke to so many Pisces risings lately. They are starting to feel called to go down a certain field that is helping people overcome darkness, addiction, trauma, abuse. It is helping people get through the worst times in their life. As that really starts to make sense to you, you're going to find a whole new way of success and a whole new way of making money. The new path is coming to light. The new routine, the new form of work, the new way that you care for yourself, the new way that you're caring for other people, it is very much coming to light. And your awareness of this energy is meant to come through as we get through more of these Aquarius transits. So that's going to be February as we continue through this lunar month ahead. And it's going to make you very aware between now and eclipse season of how you want to connect with people differently. This full moon is shedding light. It's shedding light on the path. It's shedding lights on how we continue forward. It's shedding light in a direction. It is shedding light in how we build from the momentum and the restless energy that we've been in for weeks. Every week this month has been about finding a direction, finding a path, finding some type of momentum. Sitting still has not been an option. Mentally, we cannot sit still. Physically, we cannot sit still. And there is something as we continue through this full moon and as we continue into this weekend, because I said this in the weekend podcast, I'm saying it again now. This full moon's energy, we're going to feel it for a few days. The sun's square to Jupiter doesn't even go exact until the end of the moon in Pisces. So we're going to be feeling things for a few days. Now, the other thing to that is that's going to put a restless energy into a lot of people. And if they do not have a healthy outlet for what's going on in this energy, that's going to make them reactive. That's going to make some people combative. That's going to make some people volatile. That's going to make some people argumentative. I don't like car travel or road rage. I said this part already in the week ahead forecast with that Mars-Mercury conjunction. I'm making it aware again here. But not everybody's in negative energy. I feel like a lot more people are really starting to feel like something's coming into shape for them, that they're getting into their momentum, that they're starting to see opportunities in their path. We are laying a foundation for where we're going to be feeling big changes. Every step forward is a step in a very specific direction as to new things that are going to come through in eclipse season. This upcoming eclipse season is the most important one of the entire Aries Libra axis, because it's the only one where the North Node is going to be in Aries when we have an eclipse in Aries. The only one. Energies have been getting stirred up where we needed to make changes for quite some time. We're moving towards those changes. We're moving in that trajectory. We are moving in a direction. This is a full moon that is meant to empower us, enlighten us, give us a guiding light, show us the beacon, and give us a direction. Restoring our confidence, healing our heart, healing our mind, and allowing for momentum to really set in. And everything that we've been working on for a while is going to solidify into something very, very solid. More people are going to be very, very aware of what we've been working on as individuals as we get into Aquarius season. A lot of things will solidify in Aquarius. Well, we're in Aquarius season. I keep saying that the wrong way. As we get deeper into these Aquarius transits, and that's going to be in February. So understand the new momentum, the new light, the new direction, a focus is coming in with this full moon. And in some way, shape, or form, we either no longer have a responsibility or we no longer have some kind of support that is going to really enforce that we have to follow this new light and this new path. Some of us are going to be okay with not having that support. We're just going to be full steam ahead. Okay, not having that responsibility, not having that need to work on this and focus on this one thing the entire time, all the time. We're going to see how we can progress forward. But some people are going to realize that they don't have that support anymore, and they're going to get volatile. And I'm warning of that. We have a trajectory in mind. We have something unfolding in front of us. Look at what is coming to light, what has come to light since the Sun-Pluto conjunction, what has been shaping itself as we have gotten closer to this full moon, and pay attention to the energy of the next few days, because this full moon's energy is not just going to be playing out on Thursday, January 25th. No, I said it in the week ahead forecast. It's going to continue as we go through the weekend. We will be feeling this energy for days. But if we're using this energy correctly, the level of reward can be almost instantaneous as the weekend progresses. And if that doesn't make sense to you, go back and listen to the week ahead forecast specifically as we got into the weekend. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will again post pictures on Facebook and Instagram for everybody's individual cards. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. If you are wanting to take part in that special, again, you have 1 week left to do that. And I'll remind everybody of that on the week ahead forecast next week. So I'll talk to everybody soon. I love and appreciate you all. Subscribe.